Welcome. We are going to be talking about special senses, and I'm just waiting for the full screen to come up for a second. And so we're going to be talking about basically taste and smell and hearing and equilibrium and vision. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the sense of smell, and that involves the nose. And the good thing about learning about the nose is you know it all already, okay? So except for the word nasal cavity. So the nasal cavity basically is everything that's here inside your nose. Okay? In the middle of it, you have the vomer, you have the perpendicular plate. And in the nasal cavity, in the upper part of the nasal cavity, you have the little olfactory nerves which are going through the cribriform foramina, or the olfactory foramina of the cribriform plate. And so the dendrites are in the upper part of the nasal cavity, and then the other end of the neuron is in the olfactory bulb, where it's going to synapse, and then the sensory input will continue down the olfactory tract into the brain. And that's it for the sense of smell for lab. Now let's talk about the sense of taste, and that's going to involve the tongue. And there are a lot of tongue structures, although you may not have been aware of it. Okay. So on our tongue, we have 4 different types of what are called papillae. And each of the 4 types looks totally different from the others, so you can recognize them by shape. The first thing is if you take your tongue out, stick it out, ask to see somebody who lives with, look at their tongue, about 2/3 of the way back, you will see a backwards V shape. So a V, but with the point toward the point of the V, I guess it's like this, the point of the V going towards the back of the throat. A big on the bottom picture of somebody's mouth. And these are known as circumvallate or vallate papilla. So there's a tongue model on the left where you can see it on the entire tongue, and then there's a close-up of it in the upper right. And so these big round ones, yes, it's big. The outer part is even taller, and then there's a central part as well. So that entire structure is known as a circumvallate papilla. The second type of papilla is found on the sides of the tongue. And they remind somebody of the leaves of a book, the pages of a book. So they're called the foliate papilla. And so there is an example of some on the tongue. Now these aren't quite as obvious as you age, where they just end up looking like you've got wrinkles there on the side of your tongue. But on little kids, they're very easy to see. And so on the model, they're not actually sitting up on the top of the tongue surface because that's not where they're located. They're here on the side. So you can see that these are the foliate papilla. The third type of papilla is called a fungiform papilla, which just means it looks like a little mushroom. So if you've ever looked at the surface of your tongue and you see all these little tiny red dots which are sticking up like little tiny mushrooms, those are your fungiform papilla. And so you can see them as little projections on the tongue model, and then on the closer tongue model, there are these little circular structures there. And those 3 papilla that we've just talked about, the circumvallate, the foliate, and the fungiform papilla, those are the 3 that are going to have taste buds on them. But there is a 4th type of papilla that does not have a taste bud, and that type is actually the type of papilla you have more of than all the others combined. And that type is called a filiform papilla, which just basically means it looks like a flame. So if you think of fires that have like the little flames coming up, that's exactly what it looks like. So there's a normal picture of a tongue, but underneath there's a close-up, almost a scanning electron microscope, not quite a scanning electron microscope, just a scanning dissection microscope view, looking at the surface of the tongue. You can see the pale pink round fungiform papilla, but most of it is this shaggy little flame-like projections. And those are the filiform papilla, and they clearly can be seen on the surface of the model as well. So that's it for the 4 types of papilla. So now let's learn about the taste buds. So on this model, all of these red dots, like here on the circumvallate papilla, and also here on the foliate papilla, and if I had pointed over here where there's a fungiform papilla, you can see the little red dots. All of those are taste buds. And then this picture over here to the left, basically that's a huge magnification of a taste bud as a model. What I need you to get from this slide is to understand that the taste buds are not on the surface of the tongue. They're on the sides of the papilla going downward. Looking at a taste bud, which is the entire round oval structure, it's a whole bunch of cells. It's like 3 different types of cells going in there. At the very top, on the surface of the tongue. Now remember, it's not the top surface of the tongue. This would be on the side. Okay, so the taste bud would be like this over to the side. Over at this part right there, there is an opening so that dissolved saliva-carrying chemicals can get down and activate these cells. And that opening is called the taste pore. You're going to like a lot of the words for the taste bud because they're going to have the word taste in front of them. Now, of the 3 types of cells, we're only going to learn one, and that's the one involved with the sense of taste, and that's called a taste cell. So, how can you tell a taste cell from the other types of cell? Okay, so don't rely on colors in this particular model. What you're looking for is the apical surface of the cell. And the apical surface of the cell has microvilli, which are sometimes called taste hairs. Okay, but every taste cell has a whole bunch of microvilli. The other 2 types of cells don't have the microvilli. And so what does a microvillus do? It increases surface area, which then has more places for receptors, sensory receptors for taste. So that kind of explains why it has a microvillus. And then at the basal part of every taste cell, you're going to have these sensory dendrites of a sensory nerve. And to refresh your memory from when you learned about cranial nerves, this could be the facial nerve or the glossopharyngeal nerve or the vagus nerve, depending. Anterior 2/3 has 2 of those, posterior 1/3 has 1 of those. Okay. And with that, I am done with taste and with smell. And so we're going to stop this video and we will pick up again with the eye. I want to thank you for all your hard work, and I will see you again shortly.